I've been playing around with the Xiaomi 14 Ultra as well as the Galaxy S24 Ultra, and if there's one thing these two phones have in common, it's the Ultra branding. But there isn't enough room in this world for two Ultra phones, so which one of these two bad boys is the real Ultra phone? Well, let's find out. Starting with the price, these two phones are basically the same, around $1,300 depending on the region you live in, but again, Samsung is being Samsung. And that means you get massive deals such as up to $750 of trade-in, which brings down the price of the S24 Ultra to $550, which is just incredible. You literally cannot get the Xiaomi for anywhere near that price, and I don't know how long those deals are going to last, so if you are a Samsung fan, I would jump on it as soon as possible. I'll have a link down below. These two phones take on a different approach, with the S24 Ultra being great at everything and the Xiaomi 14 Ultra being a master at a few things. Let's take the display for example. The S24 Ultra isn't world class at display brightness, but it does it right. 2700 nits of brightness with an anti-glare screen. This anti-glare screen is so good, it just looks inky black, like no matter what angle you're looking at, and it's arguably one of the most important features of not just this smartphone, but any smartphone that will have that technology in the coming future. The Xiaomi 14 Ultra goes up to 3000 nits of brightness, so on paper it should be the better display, but in practice, it's not because of that anti-reflective display on the S24 Ultra. Anytime you're outside or under heavy lights like in a store, the S24 Ultra retains the color and contrast much better since there's very minimal glare. So anytime you're watching content like a movie or something as simple as this YouTube video that you're watching, the S24 Ultra will look better. If you're looking for the phone with the sharpest resolution, the Xiaomi 14 Ultra does have you covered, 522 pixels per inch compared to 505 pixels per inch. Now, is this something you're going to notice? Probably not, but if you do own the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, you do have bragging rights. So what about the physical shape of these two monsters? Well, they're very different. The S24 Ultra takes on a boxy design with a completely flat display, whereas the Xiaomi 14 Ultra has a flat back and it tapers in towards the frame. The display is flat as well, but the glass itself is curved. I kind of like this design because it feels comfortable to use gestures, and since the display itself isn't curved, you're not actually distorting your content. And if you are enjoying the video so far, click that like button. It's absolutely free to you, but it helps me out a ton, and if you are new here, consider subscribing. Both phones are powered by the Snapdragon 8 Generation 3, however the S24 Ultra's version of the 8 Gen 3 is geared more towards AI than Xiaomi's version. So things like circle to search or holding down on any video in your gallery to enter super slow motion mode or even object eraser will make the S24 Ultra feel more futuristic and a bit more up to date. So I bought these two phones with my own money, and as you can imagine, I just had to pick one of the more expensive YouTube hobbies. So to help pay for all this technology and give you guys great reviews, a quick word from today's sponsor, trendmicro. Whether you're working from home, working with crypto, or doing some online shopping, hacking and scams unfortunately are at an all-time high. With trendmicro's premium security suite, you'll get access to maximum security protection for Mac, PC, Android, iOS, and Chromebook. After almost 2 years of using trendmicro, one of my favorite features is the password manager, which generates hard to guess passwords, and it even has keystroke encryption, which protects you against keyloggers, which is a type of malware that can see everything that you type. Using the mobile app is super easy, and it walks you through everything that needs to be fixed, so you'll have the confidence in knowing that you're protected. The computer app is also user-friendly, and I love how you don't have to dig around to find the settings you're looking for. So protect yourself today by using the link down below, and make sure you use code MARK10 and you'll get 10% off your order. So now let's go ahead and talk about the cameras, because here's where things kind of go back and forth and kind of switch direction. Right off the bat, the Xiaomi 14 Ultra will give you the more natural looking photo with very little over sharpening, and it does this because it has all the megapixels you want across all of its cameras. Every camera except the selfie camera is 50 megapixels, which means you get consistency in the sharpness and the phone doesn't really have to rely on software over sharpening. The main sensor on the Xiaomi 14 Ultra is also a 1-inch sensor, which means you get amazing natural bokeh as well as being incredibly good in low light. But it gets even better. The Xiaomi 14 Ultra also has a stepless variable aperture, which allows you to control the amount of bokeh as well as the amount of light that you introduce to the sensor. This is crazy. I remember the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, I believe, from way back in the day. I believe it also had a variable aperture, but back then, phone sensors were very, very small, and it didn't really make that big of a difference. But in today's time, with a 1-inch sensor, it makes, honestly, a world of a difference. The S24 Ultra, on the other hand, has a 200 megapixel sensor for its main camera, the ultra-wide is 12 megapixel, the telephoto is 10, and the periscope camera is 50 megapixels. So as far as consistency goes, the Xiaomi does win, whereas the S24 Ultra will heavily rely on software oversharpening for its resolution, and this is something that we can see. For example, this 30 times photo. The S24 Ultra is oversharpening the photo so much that it's actually losing detail compared to the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, which gives you more natural detail as well as keeping the colors true to life. And even if you compare the ultra-wide of the two phones, 10 megapixels versus 50 megapixels, well, you can see the Xiaomi 14 Ultra is giving better detail. A lot of people mistake over-sharpening as detail, so if a photo is like very, very sharp, that must mean it's more detailed than a photo that looks natural, but that's just not the case, because the natural photo is giving you that actual natural sharpness, whereas the other phone that doesn't really have those megapixels to play with, it actually has to rely on kind of pretty much artificially creating detail that's not there. So, what about video? Well, both phones go up to 4K at 120 frames per second, which is actually insane, and the S24 Ultra even goes up to 8K 30. However, that's only with the main camera and the 5x camera. On the Xiaomi, you can actually record 8K 30 using all of the rear cameras. This is why having consistency in megapixels across all cameras is pretty darn important, because you actually need, I believe, 32 megapixels at minimum to record 8K video, and well, the S24 Ultra does not have at minimum 32 megapixels across all cameras, so that's why it cannot do that. While recording in 4K 60, both phones let you switch between all of the rear cameras without stopping the recording. Believe it or not, many phones even today don't have that option, so kudos to both Samsung and Xiaomi. As far as HDR and stabilization and just, the way the video looks, both seem to be doing a fantastic job, so you don't really have to worry about that. So I kind of have to be nitpicky here because both phones record video really good. But if we're looking on specs on paper, and if you are really going to take advantage of that 8K video for purposes like reframing your shot and without losing detail, well, the Xiaomi is going to be your choice. Now, of course, Samsung does have its own fair share of tricks, and I am talking about the S Pen, which is built into the phone to be readily available for things like taking notes, as well as Samsung DeX, which quite literally transforms your S24 Ultra into a Windows computer lookalike. Samsung DeX is crazy good and functions amazingly from the times that I've tested it out, and you don't even need to have a cable with the newer phones. With the older Samsung phones, you actually needed to plug it into the TV, but nowadays it's just all like Bluetooth and it works incredibly well. One of the biggest differences between different Android brands is obviously the operating system, with Xiaomi giving you more flexibility whenever it comes to customization, with the ability to change things like the animations while scrolling through your homepage, and even hiding the app names, giving you a cleaner appearance. Now, I know you can do this on Samsung, but you do require a third-party app. So if we're talking about, what comes with the phones right out of the box, straight from the factory, the Xiaomi does give you a lot more customization. So I feel like it's more of a fun operating system. But all in all, One UI 6.1 and the Xiaomi HyperOS, they both function basically the same. Once you use one, you kind of already know how to use the other, and that kind of goes for all Android phones. There's not really much of a learning curve. But like I said, if you want a more fun operating system, the Xiaomi will have you covered. And if you want more of a mature kind of operating system with with definitely 7 years of operating system updates, definitely get the Samsung. So this is kind of more of a mature phone. It knows its identity and it doesn't have to show off because it's just confident. And this one's just like, hey, play around with me, Oh, that sounded weird. Now, if you're a fan of haptics, this phone is fantastic and is actually better than the S24 Ultra. The haptics on the Xiaomi 14 Ultra have honestly, like, no kidding, they surprised me. Anytime you click, you're typing on the keyboard, you're scrolling through some UI, it feels very punchy and there's no like echo that you get from like one of the cheaper Android phones, and it just feels very just like in your face. It almost like actually punches you, right? It feels incredibly solid. The haptics on the S24 Ultra, on the other hand, they don't feel echoey. There's no like echo inside the phone. It feels premium, but it's very, very muted. I really wish the haptics on this phone were very punchy. In fact, it's so muted that if you're wearing a case on your S24 Ultra like I do, you barely feel the haptics through the case, like if you have the case on the phone. That's just how weak they are, and I don't know why. I feel like they were stronger with the prior models, but I'm not too sure. I don't have them to test out. But yeah, I kind of do wish the haptics on the S24 Ultra were a little bit more punchier. Now, speaking of cases, let's see what comes in the box of the Xiaomi 14 Ultra compared to the S24 Ultra, and this is where things just blow my mind. With the Xiaomi, you get the phone, obviously, you get a hard shell case, a 90-watt charger block, and a USB-C cable, as well as a pre-installed screen protector, which I took off because it got completely scratched up, so it was a good thing that it was on the phone. But it comes with a pre-installed screen protector. How awesome is that? In the box of the S24 Ultra, you get the phone, again, no surprise there. You also get a USB-C cable, and that's it. That's it. No charger block, no case, no pre-installed screen protector. That's it. Samsung, honestly, that's a shame. For the amount of money that I'm giving you, I want more. And I don't think that's kind of egotistical to ask because other companies are offering it. Now, as far as battery life and charging goes, well, both phones pretty much get me the same amount of battery life, which I was kind of expecting. It's basically the same exact chip, even the same battery size. So you get 5,000 or 5,300 milliamp hours on the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, depending on the region you get. So if you get the Chinese model, you get 5,300. If you get the global, you get 5,000. I don't know why. But with the S24 Ultra, you get 5,000 no matter where you are in the world. So yeah, they both get me around 7 hours of screen on time, you know, depending on what I'm doing that day, depending on how long I'm using those apps that day. But on average, 7 hours, which is very, very good for both of these massive phones. But whenever it comes to recharging your phone, this is where the Xiaomi destroys the S24 Ultra. There's no other way around it. You get 90 watts of charging speed with the included brick, which will go from 0% battery to 100% battery in 30 minutes. With the S24 Ultra, it supports 45 watts of juice, which will go from 0% to 100% in around an hour and 5 minutes. So yeah, this thing is a monster. So the way I see it is, if you want the phone that has the complete package, the S24 Ultra is going to be your choice. However, if you want a phone that, you know, is a master in a few key areas, like, you know, like comfortable to hold, the haptics are great, the charging speeds are fantastic, the camera is absolutely out of this world, then the Xiaomi 14 Ultra is definitely a very good contender, and you cannot go wrong with this phone. Believe me, you guys are gonna love it. So which phone do you guys think is the better Ultra phone? Because like I said, we don't have any room in this world for two Ultra phones. Only one can be the winner. Let me know your opinions down below. And like I said, if you guys did enjoy today's video, definitely click that like button. It's absolutely free to you, but it helps me and the channel out a lot, and I always truly appreciate it. And if you are new here, you like these kind of tech videos, definitely subscribe. As always, this was Mark from Mark's Tech. Adios.